For this episode of Power Grid Talks, we are down here at the International Lineman Museum in sunny Florida, and sitting down here at the Lineman's Ranch talking to Mr. Andy Price, who is the founder of the museum, as well as the founder of the Lineman Hall of Fame. Both of those are housed here. The Fallen Linemen's organization's also housed here. It's really a pretty awesome setup. They've got a great venue for receptions, dinner banquets, that kind of stuff, and have just a great story to tell about the industry, line work, how it's evolved over the years, and they got a lot of cool stuff here. So check this episode out, and let's talk about it. You're listening to Power Grid Talks, from the bucket trucks to the boardrooms. I'm your host, Tom Williamson, a journeyman lineman with over 15 years in the trade. Here we bring you real stories and real conversations from the field to the executive suites of the electric utility world. It's about the people who keep the power flowing and the grid strong. Let's get to work. All right, welcome back to this episode of Power Grid Talks. So, how we doing, Andy?
Doing great.
My man, I appreciate you making time for us today.
I appreciate you coming to see us.
If you guys haven't been down here yet, which I know you haven't because we're just now moving to this location, this is a must-see location. I've been in awe since I pulled in the gates down here, and it's an awesome setup. You're doing really good with this thing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's talk about your role at the museum and how all that kind of came about.
So I used to be a salesman for American Safety. It's the company I own now, but my father started it, so I was on the road selling, working for him. As I'd travel around the country, I would go to co-ops, investor-owns, whatever, and I would always be in the lobby waiting to see whoever I was there to see, the safety guy, the tool buyer, and I would always look at the pictures on the walls, and I would look at a little display they had in their office or lobby, and I always wondered what happened to that stuff. So I started collecting stuff because I had a glass case in the lobby of American Safety, and I just wanted to put a few tools in it. But as I traveled the country, I just asked for things, and they started coming, and they didn't quit coming. And one day, I'm like, what am I going to do with all this stuff? Thomas, I didn't know what to do with it. So the museum kind of started by accident.
No kidding.
Yes, sir.
So it basically just started with some talking pieces and things you were interested in.
Yes, sir.
And just kept growing from there.
Yes, it did. Once I collected a bunch of artifacts, I got doing some research, and I found there was no museum to tell the history of our industry. So I traveled to museums all over the country. And I had a gentleman helping me at that time at American Safety and at the Lineman Museum. His name is Murray Walker. Everybody knew Murray across the country, but we went to every museum, from tow truck museums to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Country Music Hall of Fame, to the Earl Scruggs Museum. If there was a museum to go to, we went. We were trying to get ideas on what to do and how to do it, and so we started the museum.
That speaks to the passion you have for this, right? You didn't just walk out into a garage, throw some stuff on a bench and be like, hey, it's a museum. You've got a passion for it. You put in the research. You put in hours of travel in the country and looking at all kinds of stuff to figure out your vision for this place, right?
Yes, sir.
That's pretty cool. That's a passion you don't find very often, I feel like. But then again, this trade's full of passion, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
So many passionate people in this industry.
Yeah. So what year do you think it was when you first kind of figured out that it was going to be a museum and it was going to happen?
So the museum started in 1996.
Okay.
So that's when we started. So about a year prior to that, I knew that this is what we wanted to do.
Okay.
And but 96 is when we got our 501c3 nonprofit status, and the museum actually opened their doors.
And that was in
Shelby, North Carolina.
Shelby, North Carolina. Okay.
Yes, sir, just outside of Charlotte, about 45 minutes.
Perfect. Okay. And I'm sure that was a process. In those early days, what was the biggest struggle?
Just getting going. It's the same struggle I have today, funding to do it, because it's expensive to do this. But that was the biggest struggle, and still remains the biggest struggle. But and collecting items, I mean, there's stuff out there, but you just don't want stuff.
Yeah.
You want cool stuff. You want the right stuff.
Stuff that's in good shape and has a story too.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, everybody's got stuff laying around that doesn't make it cool stuff, and it doesn't make it have a cool story.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, some of the stuff you were showing me at the entryway up there, and I'll get some pictures before I leave, but some of that stuff and the story with the Coke bottle insulator and all that, that's awesome.
Right.
That's awesome. So for the people who don't know, what is the museum's transition right now? So you said it was in North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
And how long has it been there, and when is it going to be forming down here in Florida?
Okay, so the museum, like I said, started there in 1996, and we were open there until recently. And then we had to shut it down because we started bringing things down.
Yep.
But we have not brought most things down. What you saw is just a few little teaser things to give people an idea of what we're going to have. We have tractor trailer loads to bring down. So it will be, I said first quarter, is what I was telling everybody, but it might be a little longer than that. But it's going to evolve. We're going to be open. We're open now. We're taking people through now. But it's just going to be an evolving process. You saw some of the buildings we're building in the museum, some of the displays we're going to be building in the museum. So it will evolve. It'll never be done because we'll constantly change, and bring in new things, change exhibits. But, we will be open. Again, we're open now, but we will be more open this year. And, in 2026 for sure.
2026 is going to be a big year for you.
Yes, sir. Big year.
I feel like that's an ongoing theme and story for any good museum, though, right? It's never done. It's always an evolving story, an evolving change, new exhibits, all that stuff. Because I feel like once people come in and see it, they start telling their own stories and their own twist to it. Right. And next thing you know, you've got another exhibit idea coming.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
And that's happened. A lot of our donations have came like that. A guy will come in and he'll see something like, man, I've got at home, or I saw a piece at an antique store that somebody had, and let me see if I can get it for you.
Yeah.
And to me, that's one of the greatest things about this museum. It's not my museum. I do not own this. We're run by board of directors. We're a nonprofit. I only founded this. I tell Lyman, you built this, because about 95% of everything I have in this museum has been donated. We have purchased a few products, but honestly, so much has been donated to us. It was built by Lyman for Lyman.
Yeah.
That's one of the best parts for me.
For sure. And that gives the culture to it, right? Like some of the things that you've shown me that you have in here, you couldn't buy if you wanted to.
No.
The price tag that would have to be on some of that stuff with those artifacts and the history behind them, I couldn't even put a number on it. So that's pretty awesome.
We truly have some one-of-a-kinds in our museum.
Yeah.
When I say one-of-a-kind, it's truly one-of-a-kind.
Yeah. So what would you say the core mission of the museum is today?
So the mission of the museum today is to tell the story of our industry. I tell everyone it's the greatest story that's never been told.
Yeah.
And a good friend of mine, Mr. Alan Drew, did the American Lineman book several years ago, and I feel like he told the story the best that's been told since the beginning of our industry. We all know that book, and if you don't, please go get it. For sure. You got to look at it. So we want to continue telling that story like Alan did in his book, obviously not through the book, but through artifacts and exhibits in a museum. We started this way before the book, but he's really laid it out in a nice chronological order, and we'll probably follow somewhat of his order as we go through our new museum here. It's going to be a lot different than our museum in North Carolina because it was just a lot of stuff grouped and like items. Here it's going to be products in like item groups, but it's also going to be different buildings that tell the story as you go through.
Yeah.
So it's going to be laid out a lot different, but
that's awesome. And
preserve the history and tell the story, I guess.
Exactly, right? Because before you know it, some of those days are going to be gone and people won't even remember to be able to tell the stories if somebody doesn't do it.
That's correct.
Yeah. So why is it important for our trade to have a museum? Is it for that reason? Is it because if we don't have it, what's going to happen?
Well, you saw some of the items in there. Not the same items we use today.
No, definitely not.
Totally different, right?
Yeah.
If we don't preserve it and show it, it's going to be gone.
Yeah.
The next generation is not going to know. I mean, the generation out there today doesn't know how it was done in the late 1800s already. So we just want to show the linemen how their industry started. And it's a demanding, hard, physical job today. But in the late 1800s, it was very
I can't even wrap my brain around that.
Labor intensive.
I mean,
manual labor.
To look at some of the things and some of the way we were talking about the hooks that the guys used to wear and how they made them themselves and all of that stuff. I can't imagine going to a lineman today and being like, hey, you got to get up that pole. We don't have anything for you. Figure it out. Make your own hooks. Do whatever you got to do.
Right.
They would be like, not a chance.
You're right.
Right. The grit that it took in the industry back then is just amazing.
Well, you saw over there today where people made their own belts.
Yeah.
They made their own climbers. So they did what they had to do to get the job done.
That's it. Our society today can learn a little bit from that mindset, right?
Absolutely.
So what's one or two of the most meaningful things that you have here to you?
You got all day? So
maybe let's check the battery. Oh, I think we're doing good.
it's like asking me how to, who's your favorite child,
Yeah.
There's this, but let me tell you some of our pieces that are unique and a lot of attention getting and things like that. So some of them, I'll give you some of my favorites.
Okay.
Some of my favorites are truly are one of a kind items. We have the original patent for curved hand rubber gloves in the museum. It's not a replica. It's truly one of a kind. That's one of my favorites.
So the patent to the rubber glove that people are still using today. That's cool.
Has not changed.
Okay.
Has not changed. We have the original sign that came off the W.M. Bashland Company in Grove City, Pennsylvania. It's an old double-sided porcelain neon sign. Why do I like it? Signs are cool.
Oh, yeah.
And they were a big player in our industry, and still are today. But that sign, the way I got it makes it a favorite too. I was up visiting Bashland, and I saw it in the warehouse, and the warehouse was leaking right there, and it was in a wet spot, and the sign was kind of rusting away. And I said, I got to have that sign for the museum. And they're like, there's no way Mr. Shell will get rid of that sign. He came out, he talked to us, and he said, take it.
That's awesome.
So we took that sign, we redid half of it. The other half I left in the condition that it was in, but I had done the neon on both sides. So I wanted to show what it looked like new and its life, the story it lived by the other side. And that's a great piece.
That's cool.
A couple more pieces that I love. We have a Packard Brothers transformer.
Okay.
Only one I've ever seen.
That's cool.
Packard Brothers, who made Packard cars, actually built transformers at a point in time.
Apparently not very well. They're not doing it still.
No, they're not doing it still. And this is the only one I've ever seen.
That's awesome.
But all the old tooling, all the old pictures that tell the story. But I think some of the favorite items for the tourists that come through are the old trucks.
Yeah.
Everyone loves the old trucks. And you got to see quite a few, 6 or 7 of those this morning.
Yeah.
I think those are probably some of the crowd favorites for sure.
And I think that's, number one, their size, right? They're just cool, big piece of equipment. But number two, you can just see it, the work that those things did. I mean, they were workhorses of their day. And when you see them, they just resonate different than the trucks of today.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. Yeah. So what about some upcoming additions that you're excited about?
Well, we got big plans.
Yeah.
Big plans. So we want to, so the property we bought was called the Buffalo Nickel Ranch.
Okay.
So when we bought this property, we renamed it Lineman Ranch, and we want this to be the #1 lineman tourism destination in the country. We want something here for everyone. Of course, we have the Lineman Museum here, but that's not all. The Lineman Hall of Fame is coming here as well. The Fallen Lineman Organization has their own building here. That's coming as well. So we're getting ready to build out these buildings. The building you're sitting in now is a venue. This will be used for weddings, parties, celebrations of life, and things of that nature. We want it to be the #1 destination for lineman weddings in the country too. We have a gorgeous piece of property here. You saw that.
It is awesome.
Ponds, fountains, gorgeous land. And so we want to be the #1 destination. Hey, and we're 45 minutes from Disney.
There you go.
So when you're going to Disney to see all that, you can always come by and see the Lineman Museum on your way to or from, right?
That Disney is for the kids, right?
That's
This
right.
is the lineman's Disney right here.
Yes, sir.
I'm telling you, with the vision you have and the things you're doing here, if you have any kind of interest in the trade, if your family members in it now, if your great grandpa used to be in it, anything like that, if you just like history, this place is awesome. This place is awesome. And especially with the vision you have and what it's going to be, I can't imagine in the next year, it's going to be pretty amazing.
You mentioned something, let me touch on this real quick. You mentioned something about if your grandfather was in it.
Yeah.
What makes, and this has been a lot of hard work, a lot of personal money. I mean, it's blood, sweat, and tears. But what makes this all worthwhile to me is linemen are very generational. We'll have 3 or 4 guys from the same family come in, grandfather, father, 2 sons or whatever. But when grandpa comes in and he's telling his grandsons, man, we used to do it this way, we used to use these tools, and he'd get emotional, even get teary-eyed and talk about it, and his workers that he lost, and just the jobs they've done. That makes everything I've done and everything my team has done worthwhile.
Oh, I guarantee it. That's the kind of stuff that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up, right?
Yes, sir.
It's just the emotion that's tied into those stories, and to hear the older guy talk about, oh yeah, that tool, you don't know how to use that tool. Oh yeah, we used it like this, and those the kids being like, oh wow, I just use my Kleins now.
Right.
You know, just it's
And it never fails.
Yeah.
You know, they always say, you guys got it made now.
Oh, yeah.
You've got it made now.
bicker back and forth will never stop between the generations. I guarantee it. So you mentioned a couple of things that are tied into the museum here. So let's talk about the Lineman Hall of Fame, because you're involved in that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what's the purpose of the Hall of Fame, and what's your involvement in it?
So when I opened the museum in 1996, I wanted to give back more to the industry than I had thus far. And I thought, what else can I do? I saw how much the museum touched our industry and the people that would come to visit.
Yep.
And so, I done my research. I'm an over-researcher by trade, by nature, but I found out there was not a Lineman Hall of Fame. But I'd heard all these great stories of all these men and women who built the infrastructure that we have today that touches our life every day. Nothing in our lives now doesn't require electricity. Even the cars we drive today.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
These stupid little boxes that we carry.
Yeah.
Without electricity, they're no good.
That's it.
So everything in our world today revolves around electricity. So I wanted to recognize people who went above and beyond for our industry and who built our industry. So I done research and I started the Lineman Hall of Fame. Our very first induction class was in 2006. And that year, 6 gentlemen went in. Only 1 was living. 5 were deceased. The living lineman that went in that year, his name was Chick Heron.
Okay.
And Chick Heron came and visited the ranch a couple weeks ago and stayed for a week. Teary-eyed, emotional, couldn't believe this, how far we'd came.
That's awesome.
And Chick Heron climbed the pole line we have built inside the museum and hung the first transformer in the new museum. So the first lineman inducted in the Lineman Hall of Fame hung the first transformer.
That is such a cool story.
But the Hall of Fame is one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
You get these big burly linemen up there, Mr. Tough guys, and we recognize them and we talk about them and we tell about their stories, and their family will talk about them, their co-workers talk about them and what a mentor they were. And you see these big men just break down and cry like babies.
Yeah.
And that just touches my heart. And the one common denominator in everybody that's ever been inducted, they all say the same thing. I'm not worthy.
Yeah.
Or they don't feel they're worthy.
I was just doing my job.
Or I was just doing my job. I love my job. I love what I did. I cared about the safety of my coworkers. You know, I was just doing my job.
Yeah.
But when you hear, 5, 20 people stand up and talk about them and say, here's what you meant to me. Here's the difference you made in my life. It's just such an emotional thing. And that's one of the things I am most proud of is the Lineman Hall of Fame.
That's awesome. And those old school linemen, that generation, they didn't talk about themselves. They didn't brag about what they did. They went, did their job, put their head down, went home and did whatever work they had to do at home every day. And it was just part of life to them, right?
Absolutely.
They didn't realize that they even needed to be recognized for that.
Absolutely.
That's a pretty cool side of it for sure. So
let me say one thing about that real quick. The Lineman Hall of Fame is not just for men. We actually have 2 ladies
that's awesome.
in the Lineman Hall of Fame, and we now have 2 African Americans who were just inducted the last 2 years. So I'm really excited that it has grown and we're more diversified in getting some people in there. One of the ladies who went in was a lineman from Texas, and she was a single mom, raised like 3 kids and worked as a lineman, maid lineman, and worked full-time to support her family. Another lineman who went in, female from Kansas City, her daughter made lineman, and when her mom got inducted, she just made lineman too. So it's really cool to have those stories too.
And it sounds like the Hall of Fame's evolving kind of like the industry evolved, right?
Yes.
I mean, it goes through changes as it goes, and it recognizes the changes in the industry as it goes. So that's pretty awesome. What makes someone Hall of Fame worthy as a lineman?
Well, it's funny. Sometimes it can be their work ethic, how hard they worked, how many hours they put in, what this industry meant to them, how passionate they were. Sometimes it might be a safety guy who gets in, who just went above and beyond didn't care if he made somebody mad. He was going to make sure they did it safe.
Going against the grain.
Going against the grain. So it's people like that. But we have people in the museum like Henry Miller, founder of the IBEW. Very deserving to be in there, right? Created the IBEW for safety, or was first president of it for safety, better safety practices for this industry, because they were not good, but then he got killed on the job.
Yeah.
What person is more worthy than someone like that? Of course, then we have people who were not linemen in it, the Edisons, the Teslas, but without them, this industry would not be what it is today.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few different people who were in. I mentioned we inducted one of our first two African Americans in the last 2 years. His name was Willie Warren from PG&E. Willie Warren grew up homeless, lived in a boxcar with his family, moved to California, went to work for PG&E, worked his way up through PG&E, became the first African American lineman at PG&E. Then he went on to work on the transmission lines, first for PG&E, and then he went into management. So he worked his way all the way up, overcoming all the odds against him during that time. He had a lot of obstacles.
I guarantee it.
So people like that,
yeah,
have written their own story, made their own path.
Yeah,
that's the kind of people in the Hall of Fame.
That's cool. No, that's awesome. People who have, changed the trajectory of the industry in their own way, one way or another, whether they knew they did it or not.
Yes.
Right. So where does the induction happen? Is it a yearly thing? Is it a 5 years? How's that work?
So it's done annually.
Okay.
Currently it's being done every year at the International Lineman Rodeo in Kansas City.
How appropriate.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's where we're doing our inductions each year right
That's
now.
Cool. That's awesome. If you could pick one of the people that you've inducted into the Hall of Fame over the years that was the most memorable for you, what's the most memorable person you put in so far? And I know it's hard to pick just one. Don't get me wrong.
Again, who's your favorite child?
Yeah.
You got two daughters.
Yeah, we're not going to answer that on here, ladies.
Right. No, there is not one.
That's cool.
There is not one. I mean, literally, if I had, gun to my head, pick one, I can't give you one. There's so many special ones for so many reasons.
That's awesome.
So many different reasons. But I think everyone in deserves to be in.
Yeah, that's cool.
I will say that, but I can't. There's no way I can't do it.
No, that's a great mindset. I love that.
One.
That just shows everybody how much it means to you, right? It's not something, you're not just handing out a belt buckle to these people.
Right.
This means something. You put a lot of thought and effort into it, and I think that should mean more to the people that are in. If you guys are watching this and you're in that Hall of Fame, you're there for a reason. So that's a pretty awesome thing.
And I say this every year too. We induct the class.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's it. There's no way we can top it.
Yeah.
And in each year seems like we just get better and better and better. And there's such great quality of people. We had 48 nominations this past year for the Lineman Hall of Fame. 6 is the maximum number we can induct each year.
That's awesome.
So it's hard to pick those 6. And the hardest part of the board of directors' job, if you ask them, it's not raising money. It's not doing things to build a museum. The hardest part of our job is taking 48 nominees along with those who've not got in the past. Because just because you don't get in that year doesn't mean you're not eligible. So then you're looking at, 150 applicants. To go through those and narrow it down to your top 6 votes, that's the hardest part of our job.
Yeah. Yeah, the stress of that would make guys' hair fall out again.
I had hair when I started this, guys. I really did. So that is a true statement. That is such a true statement.
Oh, that's awesome. So as you're going through life daily, the stages, the industry, you're involved in all aspects of the industry, right? And do you ever see people out there in real time that you're like, one of these days he's going to be in there. He's going to be in this museum. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I see
That's pretty surreal, isn't it?
I do. I see, especially young men.
Yeah.
I see young men who come out, and I'll give you a gentleman's name right now. His name is Ryan Cornegay.
Okay.
Okay. Ryan just made lineman. He just competed lineman for the first time in Kansas City this year. As an apprentice, he won any and everything at International, APPA, Florida. He was just kicking butt and taking names. He's got a passion. like you don't see in young men.
Yeah,
You know?
that's awesome.
And let me tell you how I met this gentleman. My wife and I were on a cruise, and we were sitting at a restaurant outside on the cruise ship in the interior part of the ship, and I saw a gentleman walking toward me. I told my wife, I said, "There comes a lineman." She's like, "How do you know?"
You could just tell sometimes.
I said,
"Yep,
"I can tell.
yeah,
They walk a certain way. They have swagger.
yeah,
They're proud men. They're not boastful. They're not braggy. But you just remind me of an old, hard-working farmer."
yep,
You know?
yep."
And he walked by, and I glanced down, and he had on a belt buckle from where he'd won a competition. I said, "You're a lineman, aren't you?" Of course, he was like baffled. "Who are you?"
Yeah.
So I introduced myself. Told him my name is Andy Price. I was founder of the Lineman Museum and Hall of Fame. And we talked for hours. We hung out the rest of the cruise. I mean,
That's
you know,
cool.
he's early 20s. I'm in my 50s, you know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
quite an age group there. But we just hit it off. But he has a true passion for this industry, too. He's going to do things.
That's cool.
He's going to do things. He could potentially be a Hall of Famer one day. But I love eyeballing those people and thinking they could one day do this.
Yeah, that's got to be a cool feeling, and it's wild how life helps you find people.
Yes.
Right. Like how random is that for you to meet a guy on a cruise like that, and for him to be that prominent in the industry?
Yes.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So how does the museum honor? Because this is a big part of the trade, right? We have accidents, we have injuries, we have people who don't make it home. They touch the wrong two things. They're in the wrong spot. You talk about Henry Miller got killed on the job, right? It's part of the industry. How does the museum honor the fallen linemen who didn't make it home?
Well, so we have always, that's been a very big part of the museum,
Yeah.
a big part of the Hall of Fame. But we are even expanding that here at, and we hadn't talked much about the name Lyman Ranch, but we're sitting here at Lyman Ranch.
Yep.
And I mentioned Lyman Ranch is going to be home to the Lineman Museum, the Lineman Hall of Fame. It's also going to be home to the Fallen Lineman organization. They have their own building right here on the property. We have a bronze statue that'll be going in there. They're a nonprofit organization as well. And so we're going to have that one whole area dedicated just to the fallen linemen. There will be a memorial gardens just outside of that. As a matter of fact, contractors have been here all week this week, and will be here even as we're speaking today to look to build out that building for us. And so we will have our very own building just to honor the fallen.
That's awesome. And that's something I think we don't talk about enough, right? We talk about an accident happened, somebody passed away, that kind of stuff, but we don't recognize them beyond the accident. And I think the families will appreciate the fact that there's somewhere out there that cares,
Right.
that their family member made that sacrifice, right?
And one thing we're going to do in there, we're going to have touch screens in there. It's going to be very solemn. It's separated from the rest of the museum where you can go pay your respects.
Yeah.
But we're going to have touch screens. And in there, we want to be able to touch a year. And you'll be able to see the names of the people who lost their lives. And we're going to try to get as much information about that individual as we can.
Yep.
And originally we were going to put the names on the walls, but we got to thinking we're going to run out of wall space. And there's no way to go back to the late 1800s and find everyone. So we can't get all those names. So we're going to get all the names we can get. But if we inadvertently leave someone off, it's easily added.
Yeah.
So you could come in and hit 1996 and see everyone that passed that year. Or if you know somebody, Bob Smith, you could type in his name and it'll pull him up. So that's how we're going to recognize all of these individuals by names, and it can keep evolving.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that open-mindedness to it, knowing that, some of that stuff wasn't documented. It's not on paper somewhere, but their family may recognize that it's going on and want them to be a part of it. So that can always be changed and added because our industry is constantly changing, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. It's a tribute to that part of it for sure. Speaking about a changing, evolving industry, how do you feel like line work has changed from the early days of some of the things you have in the museum to today? What's some of those big changes there?
Well, obviously the equipment. You saw some of the old equipment. That was very crude and rugged equipment compared to what they wear today. Safety, obviously, is one of the biggest things we've seen evolve in our industry. I mean, from the rubber gloves all the way up to the fall restraint devices now, the harnesses, all those things. That was not a part of line work back in the day. So I think safety and equipment have been the biggest changes in our industry. I mean, look at all the battery power tools today, and
They're everywhere.
all the crimpers where you don't have to
Yeah.
physically squeeze all day long.
Yeah.
I think it's really changed our industry.
Yeah. I think some of them shoulder and elbow doctors are hating that part of it.
They are hating that, right? Knee doctors are still in business. But...
Yeah, that's for sure. So, what tools or practices that we use today that you think would shock some of these old school linemen that use some of these tools that are in your front room?
All right, say that one more time, make sure I understand.
What tools or equipment that we're using today,
Yes.
you think would shock some of those old timers? They were like, oh, that would have never happened. Like they couldn't see that being part of it.
The fall restraint stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way. Because I know when that all came into our industry, people fought it tooth and nail.
Yep.
Well, I've been climbing for 30 years and I've never had something to keep me from falling. I'm not going to,
Why do you need that?
Why do you need that?
Yep. That old school mentality.
That's for babies. I mean, I won't use the words they actually used.
Yep.
But we got to keep it PG here. But those things. I mean,
yeah, that cowboy mentality that they had back then. I'm sure they look at us with GPS on our cell phones and all that kind of stuff, right? Because when they had us back then, it was, oh, go over the creek and talk to Farmer Joe, and it's two spins past his house on that dirt lane.
Yep.
It wasn't type an address in your phone and you drive there.
Right.
Yeah. Some of that stuff I think they would think is pretty wild. What challenges do you think those older guys had that these new guys couldn't handle?
Man, it's just one of the ones we already talked about. A lot of them had to make their own equipment.
Yeah.
Not a lot of equipment was available, but if it was available, some of them just couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
Like I showed you a pair of gaffs that they took a metal ring from a wagon wheel, straightened it, shaped it. They took a old file, made a gaff, and forged it to it.
That's awesome.
I showed you a belt
Yeah.
that a gentleman had to make. He took a bridle from a horse, and he used the rings. He got a piece of leather, and got a belt, used rivets, put it together. They made their own equipment. Things like that the guys today would not do, like we mentioned earlier.
No, I feel like those old school guys, they just had a knack for figuring things out. They could figure it out. They could make it work. And don't get me wrong, we can still figure things out today. But most of the guys today, when they're figuring things out, they're Googling it. They're looking on YouTube. They're trying to find a video. They're searching for help. Those guys didn't have any help. It was just, hey, you and the two guys with you, figure it out. Don't come back till it's done.
Get the job done.
Yeah.
Don't come back till it's done, whatever you got to do.
That's
like the Coke bottle I showed you in there.
Yeah.
The Lineman innovation. During wartime, we couldn't always get insulators. So Coke bottles are glass, insulators are glass. Some lineman somewhere had the idea, well, I wonder if they'll work. Again, the Navy Seabees tried it, and they worked, and they used them. That's something very cool in the museum, too. I've only seen two in my life. One of them's in the Lineman Museum. The only other one I've ever seen is in the Coca-Cola the Coca-Cola Museum in downtown Atlanta, Georgia.
That's awesome.
So very rare stuff in this museum.
Yeah.
But ways of improvising as well.
So we've talked about, your vision and the expansion, some of that stuff that's going to happen. And none of that happens overnight. It's a product of labor on your end. So my hat goes off to you for that. How can the linemen out there, the families, utility companies and contractors, how can they get involved here? How can they contribute? How can they either put in their 2 cents or any of that kind of stuff?
There's so many ways. Everybody can get involved any way they want to. Obviously, we are going from about 3,000 square feet to about 18,500 square feet of museum space. So we need stuff. We need more artifacts. We need more things. That's one way. So if you have anything at home, if you find it, it's in the barn, let me know. I can't tell you how many phone calls I've got. My husband's passed away. He was a lineman for whomever. He has all this junk, their words.
Yeah, don't know what it is.
Don't know what it is. He's brought this junk home for years, and he told me to call you. Something happened to him.
Yeah.
Well, ma'am, what is it? I don't have a clue.
Yeah.
So
let me get in the truck and we'll be there.
we get in the truck and we go.
That's cool.
And I can't tell how much stuff we brought back to the museum. But yeah, donating items, as you find them. If you take something down and it's unique, rare, don't throw it in the dumpster. Save it for us.
Yeah.
Call us, get it to us, ship it to us, whatever the case may be. We'll pick it up if we have to. Obviously, there's always financial needs.
Yep.
We know that. We have donors have been so gracious and so generous to help us.
That's cool.
To get that. This property is bought and paid for.
That's awesome.
This is not my property.
Yep.
The house over there is my house. but all this other belongs to the International Lineman Museum and Hall of Fame and the Fallen Lineman Organization. When I'm dead and gone, this property exists. It's got a permanent home. It's not mine. It doesn't go to my family. This will be owned by the museum and the Fallen Lineman Organization and be run by our board of directors for generations to come. We finally have a permanent home, which is my goal.
Yeah.
So generosity of donors. Another way, too, we need help.
Yeah.
Right now, I need bricklayers to finish the Edison power plant I showed you earlier.
Yeah.
We need carpenters to come help build some displays and some buildings. We need landscapers out here to help get this done. We need people, like I told you, South Carolina Co-op Association come, and they built that pole line through there. We need people to build more pole lines. There's all kind of things. I need some mechanics to help me with some of these trucks to get them going and running. So you don't have to do just line work. I need a lot of different things in here.
Yeah.
I need painters. I need a lot of things. So many ways.
So listen, you guys, if you're out there and you've got some skills, or if you wives are out there and your husband has some skills and he's retired and sitting around the house too much, maybe get a hold of Andy, right? I mean, we could use those skills out here to help develop this place, and it's a passion project. You have a passion for the trade that you did for years, right? Why not help spread that passion? Fair enough?
Absolutely.
So, other than that, stories, right? Any cool story about the trade or what they've lived through are always welcome too, right?
The more stories, the merrier.
Yeah.
My knowledge in this industry has came from people telling stories.
Yeah.
So any great stories, please get them to us. And any lineman worthy to be in the Hall of Fame, please submit them and nominate them for the Lineman Hall of Fame.
And where can they find you if they want to get a hold of you? Can they Google Lineman's Museum? Is there a contact us?
Linemanmuseum.org.
Okay.
All the information's on there from
Okay.
where we're located, how to get in touch with us, how to nominate people for the Hall of Fame, etc. We're working on that to make that even bigger and better now as well.
Perfect.
Of course, follow us on social media pages.
Yep.
Facebook is our biggest one now. Instagram got hacked, and I'm not a TikToker, so
Yep.
I'm trying to find somebody now. That's something else I need. I need somebody full-time just to help me with just social media. That's become a full-time job for Lineman Ranch, Lineman Museum, Fallen Lineman Organization, and this property building we're in now, the venue at Lineman Ranch.
Yeah. And there's a lot that goes in behind the scenes for that social media stuff, right?
Yes, sir.
Especially for somebody who's not a tech person.
Right, and I am not a tech person.
So one closing question here for you before we get going. When you think about the trade's history, what's one message you want every lineman today to remember about the history of this trade?
Just know your history. So many guys don't know this history. Do your research. Come to this museum and learn about it. Read Alan Drew's book, The American Lineman. Look at what it took to build this infrastructure. Because people don't realize it. The gentlemen who gave their lives, the hard work it took, the many, many hours it's put in, how safety has changed and evolved. Just learn that, because it's the greatest story that's never been told, and we're trying to tell that story. Know where you come from. A good friend of mine who's a Hall of Famer, George Hayden, he said it, and it's in some of the stuff we've done before. If you don't know where you've come from, how do you know where you're going? So know where you come from and learn about this industry, because it's a great industry. It pays well. It's a great rewarding job. And to me, it's the best people in the world.
Very well said. Very well said. I appreciate that, Andy. If you guys are looking for a way to learn about the history of our trade and how line work came about and some of the stuff they used to do, this needs to be a destination spot for you. Put it on your next family vacation list or weekend trip or whatever you want to do. But in 2026, make this place somewhere you come, because this International Lineman's Museum and the Hall of Fame, the Fallen Lineman Organization, all that stuff is going to be something that you're going to want to see. It's pretty awesome. Appreciate you joining us today.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. You guys go out, support him any way you can, reach out to him, find him, and until next time, let's talk about it.
Let me say one last thing.
Yep.
This building we're in, it's the venue at Lineman Ranch. We want, like I said, lineman weddings here, parties here, anniversaries here. We've had numerous celebrations of lives here. So think about this too, because this supports the museum and the Hall of Fame and the Fallen Lineman Organization. So if you're looking for a place to host any kind of event or party, it is Christmas season right now.
Yeah.
We have a line company coming in today, contractor coming in to have a Christmas party here today. So please keep that in mind as well.
For sure. Yeah, that's a great point. If you guys are looking for somewhere to celebrate anything, whether it's a business lunch, a safety award recognition, a wedding, anything, this is going to be the spot you want to check out, especially down here in Florida. It's where it's at. Appreciate you, Andy.
Yes, sir, Thomas. Thank you, man.
That's it for today's episode of Power Grid Talks, from the bucket trucks to the boardrooms. I'm your host, Tom Williamson. I want to thank you for joining me as we talk to the people behind the scenes who keep our grid strong. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to hit that subscribe button, give it a share, and leave a review so we can keep bringing more voices from across the utility world to the conversation table. You can also find us at PowerGridTalks.com. Until next time, stay safe and keep the power flowing.